Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and this channel is chronicling my journey of living my best life with multiple chronic health conditions. Today I just wanted to do a doctor update with how the cardiologist appointment went and some of my lab work that I've gotten back from the functional nurse practitioner. I will apologize ahead of time. I am recording this on Wednesday morning. And Tuesday is a very long day at work and I am exhausted. So excuse the brain fog, I guess is what I'm attempting to say. The cardiologist appointment didn't go great. On the pros, she did order a coronary CTA, so a CT scan with contrast of my coronary arteries, to see if there's anything going on there that could explain some of my symptoms like the chest pain or the shortness of breath. And she said if that comes back normal that we might do a cardiac PET scan, but one thing at a time. Oh, it's gonna be a long day, guys. She also suggested I decreased the Lasix a couple days a week, just to half of what I'm currently taking, to see if that helps with the autonomic dysfunction symptoms, which I kind of already do because when I go to the gym on Friday mornings, I do not take it at all. So that in effect decreases it the same amount over the course of the week. And I don't really struggle with autonomic symptoms too often anymore. I kind of know my sodium carb level to keep things pretty much at bay in that respect. But the appointment basically focused on the autonomic dysfunction versus the actual functioning of my heart, which she stated was normal. I think I'd said in my Cleveland Clinic video that my ejection fraction had increased. It was 58%, but my stroke volume, or the amount of blood pumped each beat, has been decreasing on the cardiac MRIs and the echo that I just had. So I did bring that up with her, and she either said that the stroke volume isn't accurate or that it doesn't matter. And it was after I had been to the ER the night before, so I was very tired and did not feel like going back and forth with a doctor. But stroke volume is literally part of the equation to get ejection fraction. So if the stroke volume is inaccurate, the ejection fraction is therefore inaccurate. And stroke volume sort of determines how much blood all of your organs are getting, so it's kind of important. I did not ask about any of the other abnormalities on the echocardiogram, such as the trabeculations in my left ventricle or the valve thickening, because by that point of the appointment, I had already spent over a half an hour sort of going through 2020 to present, even though most of it is completely irrelevant to why I was there. The resident or fellow who came in first asked me when my symptoms started, and I said 2020, and tried to sort of skip over all of the things that don't matter, but he kept telling me to go back. So that was kind of a waste of time because, again, not really pertinent to what's going on. So I was just tired and did not feel like going back and forth with the doctor, like I said. Neither of them had heard of preload failure by admission, and the resident didn't really make any comments about it one way or the other, but the doctor came in and one of the first things she said was, well, I don't understand what this preload failure is, but I don't see how it could be explaining anything. Like, if getting diagnosed and treated didn't help you, then obviously it's not the reason. And I had to be like, oh no, like the Mestinon was life-changing, and she was like shocked, but still dismissed it as being legitimate and doesn't know what it is. So that tells me a lot about her as a physician, unfortunately. So, I don't know. I have the coronary CTA next week, so we'll see how that goes. I'm expecting it to be normal, I guess. I don't really know. With the fibromuscular dysplasia, there technically could be things wrong with my coronary arteries. So I guess we'll see. It hasn't been done before, so she was surprised I had neither the coronary CTA or the PET scan. So those are the avenues she's looking at. Was not interested at all in the functioning of my heart because my ejection fraction is normal. Said I needed to be exercising regularly. I told her I can't or I crash. She said, then you're doing too much. And I tried to explain to her that currently I cannot stay awake all day. So I must be doing too much every day. But she just said to do as much as I can without crashing, which again, if I cannot get through the day without falling asleep, I don't understand how doing more is supposed to help with that. But I could go on a rant, but I will not. Moving on to the functional nurse practitioner lab work. I got most of it drawn, not all. Some of it that was drawn, I guess, wasn't delivered in the correct state. So if it was supposed to be frozen, it wasn't, or something. I don't know. But it was not run, so I do have to get more lab work done. And I have the results of the SIBO breath test. So for the SIBO breath test, the hydrogen is supposed to be less than 20 at the increase over baseline, and mine only increased 2, and the methane is supposed to increase less than 10, and mine increased less than 2. And so they both basically stayed consistent, like it didn't really change at all. And it says that a breath test finding with no methane or hydrogen change throughout the entire test may be due to an abundance of hydrogen sulfide producing bacteria. So I will see what the functional NP says when I have a follow-up with her. There's currently none scheduled. We're just waiting for tests to come back, so we have the most bang for my buck since it is out of pocket. But it does appear that that's a type of SIBO, so yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. Some of my labs were normal, so I won't get into those, but my hormones were abnormal. So the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone should be at a 1-to-1 ratio, and my ratio was 4.4 to 1, so very elevated, which is something you might see in PCOS, which I have mentioned before. I don't know if anything will be done about that, but I just thought it was interesting that the ratio was so skewed, because even when you look at what it might be in PCOS, it says like the ratio might be elevated to 2 or even 3, and a 4.4 is well above a 3. So I just found that interesting. My homocysteine, which could tell us whether my elevated B12 and folate are true elevations or whether my body's just not utilizing them, came back low, below 3 millimoles, which is basically non-existent, which can cause issues if it's too low also. So that will be interesting to see if anything is done about that. My fasting insulin came back a 10.3, which is technically well within the normal range, though normal is just sort of what the average person is, and if you have a sick, elevated insulin society, normal is going to be higher. So what I actually read is that they like it research has shown that fasting insulin levels over 7 is associated with type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, like later in the future. So a fasting insulin is of 10, while normal is not ideal. And I do intermittent fasting as it is, so it's interesting that it's still above where I guess it technically should be. My progesterone was in the normal range, but the normal range for progesterone is rather large. And then my estradiol was also elevated for the part of my menstrual cycle that I was in when I was testing, which again is seen in PCOS. My testosterone and DHEA were normal. I think my testosterone was on the higher side of normal for a female, if I remember correctly. I don't have the normals right in front of me. But that has been what's going on in terms of doctors and lab results. As I said, next week I have the coronary CTA. Then on the 15th I see my PCP. I don't have any lab work pending or anything for her. I will be getting more lab work done for the functional nurse practitioner. There were some labs that were not drawn, or were drawn but couldn't be resulted. So I will get those drawn, as well as the stool test for H. pylori. And I will eventually have to send out another stool test to see what the bacteria are in my stool, just in general. And I will probably try to do it at the same time, since I'll be giving a stool sample anyway. It just makes sense to use the same sample. But that's what's been going on. I am sorry, I am so sleepy. I've taken the modafinil this morning. Tuesdays are long, so Wednesdays are a struggle, but not long, so that's a good thing. I will keep you guys up to date as to what is going on. I will be home this weekend. I was supposed to go to Minneapolis for a concert. I am not going. I am just coming out of a month-long crash in April that I spoke about last time, and do not feel like it is worth a concert to risk it. Just flying, concert, flying, and then going back to work, So I will stay home, rest, recover, do housework, yard work, that type of thing, and do that instead. I think that's the more wise thing to do. Get refunds and use that for Cleveland in July. Oh, I do have the invasive cardiopulmonary exercise test scheduled for July 26th, so that is on the books, and at this point, stent or no stent, I will do it because it's been a long time coming. But that's going to do it for this video. That's what's going on medically at the moment, so more tests, no treatments, or haven't talked to a doctor about them yet, but I do have the results at least. So it'll be interesting to see what is done about it. And I do think the functional NP will actually do something about it, which will be nice for a change, rather than abnormal results and doctors ignoring them, which was the status quo for a very long time. Anyway, I will talk to you guys about something on Saturday. Bye, guys.